You know, even just thinking about this episode makes me smile. And honestly, it's really hard not to when you start hearing those opening notes to Pinkie's best song in the entire series. And that's saying a lot, given the fact that Pinkie has been given quite a few moments in MLP to sing her heart out. But this song, I don't care how bad of a day I've been having, listening to this happy tune just makes me smile, smile, smile right along with everyone else. And really, when people talk about their favorite parts of this episode, this song is what comes up most often. But just like my review of Winter Wrap Up, I want to take a look at just how well this episode holds up even without the song. As much as this performance can stay in your head for weeks after you hear it, we should remember to put aside this piece when we are looking at the actual story. As the episode begins, we get some fun bits with Pinkie as she is going through all her stops just to get a laugh out of the Cake Twins. It's nice to see these characters making a return, because it makes for a little reminder that Pinkie is taking steps to be more responsible in her life. In the following scene, we get to learn a little bit more about Pinkie's character when she shows us just how good she is at remembering important bits of information about every citizen in Ponyville, which actually does lead into the ending of this episode when you think about it, so it's good to see that the writers are putting in these little bits with actual purpose to them. And then we come to the Smile song. I've lost count of how many times I've listened to this piece and I still enjoy it. The song begins with a rather simple and upbeat tune, with only Pinkie doing the singing. It builds with more instruments and more voices coming in, and continues to be more enjoyable to watch with all the animation that goes with it. It has its somber moments before building up towards a climax that includes the entire town. And every time I watch it, I appreciate all the more how much effort the MLP staff put into their work. But we still need to focus on how well this story holds up even without the song, so let's move on. Enter one Cranky Doodle Donkey, which is followed up by another fun little song by Pinkie once she learns his full name. However, Cranky is not quite so easily swayed by Pinkie's overly positive attitude, and just wants to be left in peace. This comes as quite the surprise to Pinkie, as she is used to having anyone new in town wanting to be friends with her right off the bat. We even get a different kind of animation style to go along with her thought process. But it quickly becomes apparent that Pinkie is not so much concerned about what Cranky wants, but rather the fact that the one thing that Pinkie feels she can do better than anything else has suddenly failed her. Pinkie is continually trying to ask questions of Cranky, going through his things without permission, and doesn't even have the slightest interest in leaving him alone despite his frequent requests for her to do so. And it reaches a whole new level of awkwardness when Pinkie mistakes Cranky's toupee for a spider. Now, the fact that Pinkie points out that Cranky is really bald shows her lack of sensitivity here. When the other residents end up laughing at the situation, it seems far more likely that they are laughing at Pinkie's antics rather than Cranky here. But it is rather obvious that Cranky is quite sensitive about his baldness, hence the reason for wearing a toupee in the first place. The fact that Pinkie doesn't even begin to realize that she's making the situation worse just shows how much she still has to learn about being perceptive to the needs of others. It reminds me of how she was acting during Luna Eclipsed. Pinkie was putting so much focus on having fun by being scared that she didn't even realize how much she was hurting Luna with all of her antics. I do believe that Pinkie has been getting better with this kind of behavior, particularly in Season 3, but she still has a long way to go on this issue. But we do see that at times Pinkie's heart is in the right place. And she does get some leeway with Cranky when she takes him in for a spa treatment and gives him a new toupee that actually looks better than the old one. So in that case, Pinkie really did understand how to help fix the situation. But since it still wasn't enough to make Cranky smile, Pinkie still doesn't consider her mission complete. I realize that Pinkie is trying to do what she is best at doing, but she is taking things way too far here. This episode makes it seem like she has no respect for what others want if she's not happy with the way things are. And this is made all the worse when she is still looking through Cranky's things without permission and ends up burning one of his books. It is completely understandable that Cranky has reached his boiling point, and even though we haven't been shown why he has this need to be alone just yet, Pinkie is really overstepping her bounds here. In the next scene, we get both Twilight and Rainbow trying to explain to Pinkie that not everyone is going to enjoy her antics. And I really like that the animators put in a little continuity here with Rainbow reading another Daring Do book. But despite their efforts, Pinkie is still not taking the hint. And similar to how Pinkie was able to follow Rainbow Dash all over the place in both Griffin the Brush-Off and Party of One, we get another chase scene with Cranky. Of course, Cranky is completely overwhelmed and still just wants to be left alone. And when we finally learn the reason why, it becomes all the more understandable. Having to watch Cranky go through who knows how many years on his own, spending half a lifetime trying to find his one true love and always running into dead ends. It's a rather tragic tale when you think about it. And it does make for a happy ending when Pinkie helps him to find his true love even after Cranky had tried to push Pinkie completely out of his life. But throughout this episode, I still felt as though Pinkie was being very sweet and very insensitive at the same time. She had made for some rather touching moments here and there, and other moments that are borderline creepy stalker behavior. If Pinkie hadn't managed to help Cranky find his true love, just how could we interpret the rest of her actions here? It was only through sheer luck that Matilda happened to be living in Ponyville. And although Pinkie's extensive knowledge about everyone in Ponyville really did help out in the end, she hadn't been planning on doing anything like that until after she had picked up on the clues. So really, the bulk of this episode shows Pinkie's actions as being for her sake, rather than for Cranky's. It gives me some rather mixed feelings on just what this episode is trying to teach. I do like the fact that Pinkie talks about how some friends prefer to be left alone, and that's okay. But I don't think that this episode does enough to show that lesson rather than just saying it. Overall, though, I did enjoy watching this episode again. There are plenty of moments that made me smile, and even though Pinkie really does overstep her bounds from time to time, I was laughing quite a bit at her antics. It's just, when I focus on the story and how it plays out, I don't think the writers put it together as well as they could have. It sends kind of a mixed message with Pinkie putting aside any respect for others just so she can feel better about herself. But when I can put that aspect aside, I really do enjoy everything else this episode has to offer. And just like Winter Wrap-Up, I believe there are some good merits with this episode even if you take away the song. But I have to admit, this episode wouldn't stand out too much without it. Although, there are some little things here and there that I hadn't noticed before. Like near the end of the episode when Pinkie says that her birthday is in 75 days. If you look back at Party of One, it shows the main six celebrating Pinkie's birthday, so you could actually get a pretty fair estimate of how much time has passed when you compare these two episodes. That is, if the calendar year of Equestria works just the same as it does in our world. In the meantime, though, I would like to hear your thoughts on A Friend Indeed. What do you think about Pinkie's behavior throughout this episode? Do you think Cranky's actions are understandable, given the situation Pinkie kept putting him in? Do you think Pinkie actually took the lesson she learned here to heart? Do you have any thoughts on how much time has passed throughout the MLP series? I would like to hear your thoughts on A Friend Indeed, and here's to hoping that we get some more incredibly catchy music from Pinkie in the future. I am DRWolf, and I look forward to hearing from you.
I put 2 and 2 and 2 together, and it added up to Matilda.